The galaxy was dying, stars still burned, planets still turned. But something was broken in the hearts of all living species. The war with the Sylph had dragged on for over 12 years. Humanity had joined a great alliance called the Coalition. But even with many species fighting side by side, they were still losing. Every month, another world fell. Colonies vanished. Cities turned to dust. Millions gone in seconds. And now, Earth was next. The last hope of the Coalition rested on something strange, something dangerous. A secret project deep inside a hidden base on the cold moon of Kale, or -9. Inside that base, a human soldier stood, alone in a dark room. His name was Lieutenant Ray Carter. He stared at a black screen filled with red text. Dozens of names flashed before him. Each one had a note beside it. Bond failed. Subject terminated. Ray swallowed hard. These were the names of soldiers who had tried before him. All of them had entered the chamber. None had come back. And now, it was his turn. Behind the screen, thick metal doors waited. On the other side was a creature known as Velzorin, 8-foot-tall alien warrior from the Draken race. Once proud and powerful, her people were now nearly extinct. Some said they were too dangerous to live. Others believed they were the only way to win the war. Ray had read the reports. The Draken were strong, fast, and could link minds with another being. If a human could bond with one, their strength, memories, and battle skills could be shared, combined. But the process was painful, deadly, and so far, impossible, until now. A voice came from the speaker above him. Lieutenant Carter, final check. Do you still volunteer for the bonding? Ray looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but his voice was steady. Yes. The door opened. Cold air rushed out from the chamber. The lights flickered above. Ray stepped forward. Each footstep echoed. The walls were covered in glowing runes, alien symbols, none of them human. And at the center of the room stood the giant dot, VAEL. Single quotes Zora. She was still like a statue. Her skin was dark silver. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Muscles rippled across her arms and shoulders. She wore ancient armor made of bone and steel. There were scars on her arms, fresh ones, old ones, and her face. It was not cruel, not angry. It was tired. Ray stopped, just a few feet away. He looked up. He had never seen a creature like her. She was beautiful, in a strange, terrifying way. Vale's eyes locked on his. You are smaller than the last one, she said. Her voice was deep, calm, but something about it made Ray's chest tighten. Ray didn't answer. Vale stepped forward. The ground shook under her feet. Are you afraid, human? Ray met her eyes. Yes. She paused. Then why are you here? He took a breath. Because I have nothing left to lose. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Vale raised her hand and placed 2 fingers against her own forehead. Very well, she said. Then let the pain begin. Ray did the same. Suddenly, light filled the room. A beam of energy shot between them. Their bodies shook. Ray dropped to his knees, screaming. It felt like fire in his veins, like his brain was being pulled apart. Memories flashed before his eyes. His childhood, his brother's death, battles, blood, fire. He saw her memories too. Mountains covered in snow, a baby Draken laughing in her arms. Then war, fire, screams, loss, so much loss. The link broke. Ray collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. Blood ran from his nose. Vale knelt beside him. For the first time, her voice was soft. You saw it, she said. Ray looked up. You lost someone, he whispered. Vale turned away. Her fists clenched. All of them. Ray sat up slowly. I lost my brother, he said. On Varrock 7, I was supposed to save him. I failed. Vale didn't respond. but something in her eyes changed. The coldness faded, just a little. The speaker above them crackled. "Lieutenant Carter, report status." Ray ignored it. He kept his eyes on Vale. "Do you believe we can do this?" he asked. Vale stared at him for a moment, then spoke. "You are not like the others." He frowned. "Because I lived." "No," she said. "Because you listened." Suddenly, alarms blared across the base. Red lights flashed. A voice shouted, "Base, under attack. Sylph incoming. Prepare for breach." Ray stood up. Vale was already moving toward the door. "I thought I wasn't ready," Ray said. Vale glanced back at him. "You're not," she said. "But neither am I." And then she smiled. A small, sad smile. "But maybe, together, we will be." The doors opened again. Soldiers ran past. Explosions echoed from the upper levels. Ray looked at Vale one last time. "We fight together now," he said. She nodded. "For my people. For yours." They ran into the fire. The base shook under their feet. Screams echoed through the metal halls. Red lights flashed in every corner. Soldiers ran with weapons raised, barking orders, but no one was truly ready. The Sylph had come early. Lieutenant Ray Carter followed close, behind Valezora. Her long strides covered more ground in seconds, but she slowed for him, not because he was weak, but because they were bonded now. Even if the link wasn't fully complete, yet something had changed. They could feel each other, not fully, but enough to know when the other was scared, or angry, or ... hurting. Ray had never felt this before. It wasn't just in his mind, it was in his heart. Deep. Vale stopped at the blast doors. Her sharp eyes scanned the wall panel. "This is where they'll breach," she said. "We must hold this point." Ray nodded. He raised his rifle. "You've done this before?" he asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she reached out and placed her large hand on his chest. Her skin was warm. Her palm covered half his torso. "I don't trust humans," she said, "but I feel your fear, and you feel mine." Ray met her eyes. "We don't need trust. We need each other." She gave a short nod. Behind them, a loud bang. A scream. A soldier ran around the corner, covered in blood. "They're inside," he shouted then. Something pulled him back. Fast. Silent. He was gone. Ray gripped his rifle tighter. The wall in front of them cracked, then burst open. Black smoke poured in, and from it, the Sylph emerged. They were tall, insect-like, with sharp claws and hard armor. Their eyes glowed red. They moved fast, without sound, like shadows made real. 3 of them leaped toward Ray. He fired. 2 fell. The third reached him. But before it could strike, Vale moved. With a roar, she slammed her fist into the creature's chest. Bones cracked. It flew across the hall and hit the wall. Dead. Ray turned to her. "You didn't even blink." "I don't," she said. "Blades coming." Ray looked down. More Sylph were crawling out of the floor vents. Long claws clicked against the metal. They surrounded the pair, silent and deadly. Ray stepped closer to her. "We're outnumbered." Vale smiled. "We always are." They stood back to back, and then the real fight began. Ray fired burst after burst, each shot landing clean. He moved, like he never had before. His body felt lighter, stronger. His eyes were faster, his instincts sharper. That was the bond. He could feel Vale's battle sense guiding him, and she could feel his fear calming. It wasn't perfect, but it was working. Vale moved like a storm. Her fists crushed skulls. Her claws tore through armor. Every time Ray got pushed back, she pulled him in. Every time she staggered, he covered her. They were not 2 soldiers. They were one. But then, a sharp pain stabbed through Ray's mind. He stumbled. His vision blurred. Vale screamed not from her own pain, but from his. Their connection was spiking. Too much. Too fast. You're bleeding. Inside, she shouted. Ray wiped his nose. It came away red. I can handle it. No, you can't. She grabbed him and pulled him behind a wall. More Sylph rushed in, but for now, the two were hidden. Ray dropped to one knee, gasping. I'm not ready, he whispered. Vale knelt beside him. For a moment, her hand gently touched his face. Her fingers trembled. I was wrong, she said softly. You are not weak. You just care too much. Ray looked up at her. You lost someone too. I saw it. Vale turned her head. Her voice dropped. My mate. My son. Both taken by the Sylph. I was supposed to protect them. I failed. Ray placed his hand on hers. You didn't fail. You survived. So did I. That means something. Their hands stayed together for a long second. Then Vale pulled back. Her eyes fierce again. They are breaking through the second gate. We have to move. Ray stood, his legs shaking but strong. Then let's give them hell. They charged back into the hall. More Sylph came, but Ray and Vale were different now. Their minds were closer, movements tighter, hearts beating in rhythm. Ray rolled under a Sylph blade and fired into its chest. Vale leaped over him and smashed. Two more into the ground. They moved like a single storm. Other soldiers saw them and started to fight harder. The bond gave them hope. For the first time in days, the base began to push back. Finally, after what felt like hours, the last Sylph fell. Silence returned. Bodies covered the floor. Ray leaned against the wall, panting. His armor was cracked. His arm was cut. But he was alive. Vale walked to him and sat beside him. I didn't think we'd make it, he said. You didn't, she said, almost smiling. We did. Ray looked at her, blood on his cheek, dirt on his face. I still don't fully understand what we are now. She looked up at the flickering lights. Two halves of a broken sword. Alone, we are dangerous. But together, we're something more, he finished. They sat in silence. The room still smelled of smoke and blood, but it was peaceful, for now. Then, a voice called through the comms, Lieutenant Carter, report to command. There's something you need to see. Ray stood. Vale followed. Before they left, she turned to him and spoke, her voice softer than before. Your fire burns hot, human. But you do not let it consume you. That is rare. Ray met her gaze. And your rage, he said, is not just anger, it's love, and that is beautiful. They walked together through the broken halls, shoulder to shoulder, not as strangers, not as enemies, but as something new. Ray Carter stood in front of the command screen, his armor torn and his body aching. His hands were still shaking from the battle. But what he saw on the screen made his heart freeze. A red dot was blinking. It wasn't just an alert. It was a signal. Enemy ships. A full Sylph fleet. Heading for Earth. The room was silent, except for the sound of the warning alarm. A general stood nearby, arms crossed, voice cold. We've lost the outer colonies. If Earth falls, it's over. The coalition will break. Ray turned to him. Then we stop them. The general shook his head. We can't. Not without full Draken support. Not without you and her completing the bond. Vale Zora stood quietly in the corner. Her silver eyes focused on Ray. She said nothing. But Ray could feel it, a strange pressure in his chest, like her sadness was reaching him without words. Later, in the isolation chamber, Ray sat on the floor, breathing hard. Vale was across from him. The lights were dim. The air was still. You're hiding something, Ray said. Val looked up slowly. So are you. Ray looked away. When I was 12, I watched my older brother die, he whispered. He was trying to save civilians during a colony strike. I stayed behind. I was scared. I let him go alone. He rubbed his face, as if trying to wipe away the guilt. They never found his body, just ashes. Vale nodded. My son was 5. My mate had just returned from war. We thought we had peace, but the Sylph attacked at night. I fought. I killed many, but I couldn't save them." Her voice cracked for the first time. I heard my son scream. Ray's heart sank. They were silent for a long time. Then Vale said, "This bond, it's not just strength. It shares everything, even the pain." Ray looked at her. "Then let's share it. All of it." Vale stepped closer. She reached out and touched her fingers to his forehead. Ray did the same. This time, there was no explosion of light. It was gentle, like a door slowly opening. Ray saw her memories, clearer now. Her son laughing as he chased a bird across white sand. Her mate holding her hand beneath the stars. The joy, the pride, the unbearable loss. And Vale saw his Ray crying alone in the dark after his brother's death, holding a medal that felt like a lie. The years of silence, the self-hate, the longing to be forgiven. Tears rolled down Ray's face, not from pain, but from understanding. And for the first time, Vale wept too. "You carry so much," she whispered. "So do you," he replied. "But we don't have to carry it alone anymore." Their connection deepened. It wasn't just mental. It was emotional, spiritual. They weren't reading each other's minds. They were feeling each other's hearts. Suddenly, Ray gasped. He clutched his chest. "Something's wrong," he said. Vale's expression changed. "They're inside the base again." Ray stood up fast. "We just cleared them." "No," she said. "Someone brought them in." They rushed through the halls, footsteps echoing against metal floors. A soldier lay slumped against the wall, a knife in his back. The badge on his chest read, "Captain Reeve, one of the base's top officers." Vale knelt beside him. "There's a traitor," she said. Ray stared ahead, jaw clenched. "They called the Sylph here, to kill you." Vale stood, fists tightening. "They fear what we are. Then we show them what we can do." They reached the control room. 3 soldiers stood near the door, guns drawn. One of them pointed at Vale. "Step back. She's dangerous. She'll turn on us." Ray stepped in front of her. "She saved our lives. She saved this base. She's not one of us," the man shouted. Ray lowered his rifle, slowly. His voice was calm, steady. "She's more than one of us. She feels everything. Pain, loss, love. You think that makes her weak?" He turned to Vale, eyes locked with hers. "She's the strongest being I've ever met." Vale's eyes shimmered. Not with anger, with something softer. Pride, connection, maybe even trust. The soldiers backed down. Ray opened the control room door. Inside, the power was flickering. A console had been sabotaged. Sparks flew. Wires melted. A virus was spreading through the base system. Ray moved fast, typing in emergency overrides. Vale stood guard, eyes sharp. Behind them, the room shook. A blast, then silence. Ray looked at the screen. "They've taken the outer wall." Vale turned to him. "If they reach the lower core, they'll destroy this base. We need to finish the bond. Fully now." Ray paused. "What happens when it's complete?" "We become one," she said. "Not just thoughts. Instinct, strength, pain, all of it." Ray hesitated. "Will it change us?" Vale stepped close. "It already has." She placed her palm against his chest again. The bond flared, stronger than before, and this time, it didn't hurt. It was warm, like a heartbeat, like a hand reaching into darkness and finding another. They were no longer 2 minds. They were one. Suddenly, the map on the screen lit up. Every Sylph, and the base began to move, all heading in one direction, toward the neural fusion chamber. Ray looked at Vale. "They know what we just did." Vale nodded. "They're afraid." He took a breath. "Good." They grabbed their weapons and ran toward the final battle. The base was dying. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. Smoke poured through broken vents. The power grid was failing. Every screen blinked red. The Sylph had breached the core. But Ray Carter and Velzora didn't run. They walked through the chaos, step by step. Together, soldiers moved aside when they passed. No one spoke. No one questioned. There was something different about them now. They weren't just human and alien anymore. They were something new. Ray could feel her thoughts like whispers in the back of his mind. Her memories, her instincts, her pain, her strength. Vale could feel his heartbeat, the sadness in his chest, the fire that never died. They had bonded, and the bond was complete. Inside the neural fusion chamber, a scientist waited for them. His face was pale, hands shaking. "You two shouldn't be here," he said. "They're heading straight for this room." "We know," Ray replied. Vale looked at the chamber walls. Dozens of glowing cables ran from floor to ceiling. In the center stood a platform surrounded by metal arcs. "This was made for forced bonding," she said. The scientist nodded. Ray looked at him. "Will it hold us?" The man hesitated. "No one's ever survived the full sync, not even for 5 seconds." Ray glanced at Vale. "We're not like the others." She stepped onto the platform. Ray joined her. The machine activated, light filled the room. The arcs above them began to spin, humming with power. Their bodies tensed, muscles strained. Breathing became harder. Their minds were already linked. But this was more. This was fusion. The pain came fast, sharp, deep. Ray fell to his knees. His memories spilled out so fast, he couldn't breathe. Childhood, war, love, loss, everything, all at once. Vale dropped beside him. Her pain poured into him. Her son's cry, her mate's last breath, her rage, her guilt. Their screams filled the room, but neither pulled away. Their hands found each other's and held tight. Then something shifted. The pain turned to heat. The heat became light, and the light became silence. Their bodies glowed with a faint blue energy. Their wounds began to heal. Their hearts beat together, and for the first time in history, a human and Draken became one, not in body, but in soul. The chamber door burst open. Dozens of Sylphs stormed in, claws raised. The scientist screamed and ducked behind a control panel. Ray stood slowly. So did Vale. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Ray raised his hand. A wave of invisible force pushed through the room. The Sylph closest to them flew back, slamming into walls. Metal bent. Glass shattered. Vale roared. She leaped into the enemy like a storm. Ray moved with her, faster than ever before. His eyes locked onto every target. His body followed without thought. Every time he swung, Vale's strength guided his arm. Every time she dodged, his instinct told her where to go. They were no longer protecting each other. They were protecting something they had built together. The bond. Ray grabbed a Sylph blade midair and turned it back on its owner. Vale jumped, flipped in the air, and brought her fists down with a force that cracked the floor. The room was chaos, but within that chaos, they moved like dancers in perfect rhythm. And then, it was over. The Sylph lay broken across the chamber. The walls were damaged. The floor burned. But Ray and Vale stood in the center, glowing faintly, alive. Together the scientist stood up, his face pale with shock. You didn't just bond. You changed." Vale turned to him. "We became what this war needed." Ray helped her step down from the platform. He looked around at the destruction. "We're not done yet." The comms crackled. A voice came through. Panicked. "Enemy fleet. Entering orbit. We've got minutes before they launch a full strike." Ray grabbed a rifle. "Then we go now." Vale touched his arm. "Not from here. Not on foot." She pointed to a sealed door behind the chamber. "There's a Draken fighter ship stored under this base. Hidden. My people built it before the fall." Ray raised an eyebrow. "You could have mentioned that earlier," she smirked. "You weren't ready." They ran through the back halls. The deeper they went, the older the tech became. The walls turned from steel to dark stone. Draken markings glowed faintly under their feet. Finally, they reached a massive underground hangar, and there it was, a black, winged fighter with glowing blue veins along its body. It looked alive. Its shape curved like a dragon, sleek and silent. Ray whistled. "That's not human design." "No," Vale said. "It's Draken, and it only answers to bonded minds." She stepped forward. The ship responded. Lights came on. Doors opened. Engines hummed. Ray followed her inside. The cockpit adjusted for them both. 2 seats, side by side. He looked over. "You ready?" Vale took his hand again. "We fly together." As the ship lifted off, the hangar doors opened. Light from the stars poured in. Outside, the Sylph fleet hovered above the base. Massive and dark dot, Ray locked onto the enemy command ship. "Let's end this." Vale smiled. "With fire." The Draken ship soared into the sky, faster than any human vessel. Behind them, the base fell silent. Ahead of them, war waited. But they were no longer alone. Not in heart, not in battle, not in fate. They were bonded, and now, the galaxy would feel their fire. The stars were filled with fire. The sky above Keller 9 had turned red. Enemy ships blocked out the light. Sylph war cruisers circled like vultures, ready to strike. But one small ship raced upward, cutting through the dark. It was shaped like a beast, sleek, silent, alive. Inside, Ray Carter and Velzora sat side by side. The glow from their skin had faded, but their bond was stronger than ever. They could feel each other's thoughts, their fears, their strength, their love. Ray held the controls. Vale focused on the targeting systems. Neither spoke. They didn't have to. The Sylph fleet had one purpose: destroy Earth. And now, destroy them. They reached open space. Alarms filled the cockpit. A dozen fighters locked onto them. Enemy cannons warmed up. Ray looked at Vale. "You trust me?" She nodded. "With everything." "Then hold on." Ray turned the ship hard. Lasers shot past them. He rolled through the fire, diving between ships, engines screaming. Vale fired back, hitting 2 enemy fighters. The rest followed close behind. But the Draken ship was fast, faster than anything Ray had ever flown. It danced through the stars like a ghost. Still, there were too many. "We can't shoot them all," Ray said. "No," Vale replied. "We must go straight for their heart." She pointed toward the largest ship in the fleet, the Sylph command vessel. It was massive, black and sharp, like a blade. It hovered at the center of the fleet, like a king among monsters. "That's where it all begins," she said, "and where it must end." Ray narrowed his eyes. "Then we cut off the head." They flew straight toward it. Enemy fighters closed. The ship shook from impact. Shields dropped to 50%. Ray pulled hard on the controls. The Draken ship dove under the command ship's defenses and rose again, skimming its surface. "Look for a weak spot," he said. Vale scanned fast. "There," she said, pointing to a glowing vent near the rear core. "A reactor intake. If we hit it, the entire ship will fall." Ray smiled. "Then let's give them something to remember." But just before he fired, the ship stopped responding. The screens flickered. Vale's eyes widened. "They've hacked the ship." Ray slammed his fist on the console. "No, no, no." A message appeared on the screen. "Come alone, or he dies." Ray froze. It wasn't meant for him. Vale was already standing. She looked at him, eyes filled with rage and sorrow. "They want me." Ray stood too. "You're not going." "I have to." "You think I'll let them take you?" She turned toward him. "I won't let them take you." He stepped closer. "You really think they'll let you walk away if you go alone?" "I don't plan to walk away." Silence filled the ship. Outside, the battle still raged. But inside, the war was between 2 hearts. Ray's voice cracked. We didn't come this far to be separated now. Vale reached up and touched his face. Her thumb brushed over his cheek. Her voice was soft. Our bond gave me hope. You gave me purpose. But now, I must protect it. No, Ray whispered. We protect it together. Suddenly, a hidden door in the ship opened. A small pod slid out from the back. It was an escape capsule. Just one seat. Ray looked at her. You planned this. She nodded. Draken ships are built for war, but always leave a way out, for the one left behind. I'm not leaving, he said. Vale pressed her forehead to his. You are Earth, still needs a hero. He grabbed her hand tightly. I need you. A tear slid down her cheek, and I'll be with you, always. She pushed him into the pod. He fought back, but she was stronger. The pod door closed. Ray pounded on the glass veil. She stared at him, her face calm, beautiful, brave. Then she whispered something only he could hear through the bond. Forgive me. And she launched the pod. Ray screamed as he flew away from the ship. Powerless to stop it, he watched her turn the Draken ship toward the command vessel, straight into its core. The Sylph opened fire. Too late. Vale pushed the engines to full power. The ship crashed through the shields. Fire lit the sky, and then a flash brighter than a sun. The Sylph command ship exploded. The shockwave tore through space. Sylph vessels lost control. Some crashed into each other. Others fled. The war changed in that moment. Ray's pod spun, shaking violently, but it survived. As the light faded, he stared into the stars, tears blinding his vision. She was gone. Hours later, Ray was recovered by coalition forces. He didn't speak for a long time, but he held one thing close. The last spark of the bond, a faint warmth in his heart. Not just memory, but something alive, something eternal. It had been 7 days since the blast, 7 days since Vale Zora flew the Draken warship into the heart of the Sylph command vessel. 7 days since Ray Carter screamed her name and watched the sky turn into fire. The war didn't end that day. But everything changed. The Sylph fleet broke apart. They lost leadership. They lost control. Some fled. Some turned on each other. Earth was safe for now. The coalition called it a miracle, but Ray didn't feel like a hero. He sat alone in the quiet halls of the medical center, staring out the window at the stars. His body had healed, but not his heart. Every night he felt the same silence inside. The bond, gone. He had felt her thoughts, her warmth, her strength. Now, there was nothing. Doctors said it was trauma. Military officers said it was part of war. But Ray knew what loss felt like. This was worse. He had loved her. Not like people on Earth understood love, but something deeper. Something forged in pain, battle, and connection. She was gone, or so he believed, until the signal came. It happened on the 8th day. A technician ran into the command center, holding a blinking tablet. Sir, you need to see this. An encrypted message had appeared from deep space. The source was unknown. It broke through 5 layers of coalition firewalls, but the signature matched one thing. Drakentech. Ray was called in immediately. He stared at the screen. The message was short. Just 5 words. Bond remains. Come to me. His heart skipped. His voice was almost a whisper. Vale. The location was outside coalition territory, near the edge of a starless system. A graveyard of forgotten ships. No planets. No stations. Only ruins. The coalition refused to send a fleet. Too risky. Too empty. Ray didn't care. He didn't ask for permission. He just asked for one thing. Give me one ship. The next day, Ray stood on the launch deck. A single stealth-class recon ship was waiting. Small, fast, quiet. He walked up the ramp. His new co-pilot, a quiet AI named Echo, ran final checks. Destination confirmed. Unknown region. High probability of Sylph remnants, the AI said. Ray nodded. I'm not going to fight. I'm going to bring someone home. The journey took 3 days. He passed dead stars and broken hulls, floating metal, frozen bodies, silence. But deep inside, something kept growing. That warmth, that faint bond. It was back, weak, but real. She was alive. On the 4th day, he reached the coordinates. At first, he saw nothing, just space, dark and empty. But then, a signal flashed again, a pulse, like a heartbeat. He followed it, and found her. She wasn't in a ship. She was the ship. A massive wreck floated in the center of the debris field. It looked like the remains of the Draken vessel she flew into the Sylph mothership. But it was alive. The wreck was glowing faint blue. Strange lights pulsed from within, and at its core, a shape large, still. Ray docked. He stepped inside the hushed remains of the ship. Everything was dark, cold, but the walls, they breathed. Ray walked slowly, flashlight shaking in his hand. Then, he reached the heart chamber. And there she was, Zora suspended in a crystal cocoon, her body surrounded by light, her eyes closed, her chest rising, barely. He rushed forward. Vale, it's me. I'm here. She didn't move, but the bond pulsed, faint. She was alive, trapped, held in stasis by the ship itself. The Draken vessel had not been destroyed. It had protected her. It had sealed her inside and floated her away before the full explosion. But it didn't have the power to heal her fully. Ray placed his hand on the crystal. Can you hear me? No answer, but a whisper. In the back of his mind, you came. He stepped back, looked around the chamber. Cables, power conduits. The reactor was dying. She wouldn't last much longer. He had one chance. Ray ran to the core systems. He connected his suit to the ship's mind. The AI inside tried to resist. Warning, non-Draken user, genetic mismatch. Ray shouted, she's bonded to me. Let me in. The system scanned him. Bond signature, confirmed. He began transferring power from his ship to hers. Lights flickered. Systems warmed back in the crystal chamber. The cocoon cracked. A soft breath escaped from inside. Ray rushed back. He watched as the crystal split apart and fell away like glass. Vale collapsed into his arms. She was cold, but alive. Her eyes slowly opened, and the first word she spoke was, Ray. He laughed, tears running down his face. You're the stubborn one this time. She smiled weakly. You came alone. I had to. No one else would believe me. She rested her forehead against his. I never left you, Ray whispered. Neither did one. The ship began to shake. Power draining. Enemy signatures approaching. The Sylph had followed the signal. Echo's voice crackled through Ray's earpiece. Multiple hostile contacts inbound. Time to leave. Ray helped Vale to her feet. She looked at the broken ship around her. It won't hold. Ray nodded. But we will. They made it back to the small recon ship just in time, as the last bit of power died behind them. Ray launched the engines. Vale sat beside him, weak but smiling. Outside, enemy ships appeared. Too many, but they didn't run. They turned to fight. Together. One ship. One bond. One last chance. The stars around them were no longer silent. Alarms echoed inside the recon ship. Red lights flashed on every panel. The Sylph were closing in fast. 10 ships, then 15. Ray Carter kept one hand on the controls. His other hand held tightly. To Vale, Zora says. She was still weak, barely healed from her time inside the cocoon. Her body ached, but her mind was sharp. Her bond with Ray, though faint, pulsed like a thread of light between them. They were together again, but this might be their last flight. The recon ship was small. Light weapons, thin shields, not built for war. Ray checked the nav screen. One jump, that's all we need. I just have to break their lock long enough to engage the hyperdrive. Vale nodded slowly. You focus on the escape path. I'll handle the rest. Ray looked at her. You're still hurt. You can't fight yet. Vale turned her head. Her silver eyes locked with his. You came back for me. Don't make me regret it. She stood, slow but steady, and moved to the rear cannon. Ray started evasive maneuvers, spinning the ship between bursts of enemy fire. Lasers zipped past. Shields dropped to 60%, then 50%. Vale activated the cannon. It glowed blue. As Draken energy flowed through it, pulled from her own strength, she fired sharp, deadly beams that sliced through the nearest Sylph fighters. 2 ships exploded in silence, but more came. They're surrounding us, Ray shouted. Vale gritted her teeth. Let them try. The recon ship dove downward, skimming through an asteroid field. Ray weaved between rocks. Enemy ships followed close behind, but Vale shot another one down. It crashed into the field in a ball of fire. Still, it wasn't enough. They were too many. Vale felt her legs weaken. Her arms ached. Her vision blurred. But she didn't stop. She reached out, touching the cannon's control panel, and for a moment, the cannon glowed brighter than before. Ray noticed it from the cockpit. What did you just do? Vale didn't answer. She closed her eyes. The bond between them pulsed stronger. Then Ray felt it. Not a thought, not a memory, a decision. His heart skipped. No, don't you do this. Vale's voice entered his mind, calm and steady. There's only one chance, Ray. You know it, he shouted aloud. We just got back. I'm not losing you again. You won't. Ray turned the ship around sharply, forcing the engines to scream. You're not leaving me behind. But Vale was already in motion. She left the cannon, walked into the heart of the ship. Her hand reached for the Draken crystal core, still faintly glowing from earlier. Ray left the cockpit and grabbed her wrist. Stop, please. Her eyes were soft now, full of love. You showed me something I didn't believe existed, Ray. A heart that forgives, a soul that bonds. You didn't run from me, even when I was broken. She placed her hand on his chest. I was a weapon. Now, I want to be something else. His voice cracked. You already are. You're everything. The ship shook again. Another hit. The core started to flicker. She looked at it, then at him. This core is part of me. If I release all that's left of my energy into it, I can give this ship one final burst. Enough to destroy the fleet. Enough for you to escape. Ray backed away. No, you don't get to decide that for both of us. She stepped closer. It's not your choice. It's mine. He fell silent, then whispered. Why do we always have to lose the ones we love? She reached up and touched his face. Because we're the ones willing to give everything. Tears fell from Ray's eyes. Vale kissed his forehead gently. I will always be with you. In your breath, in your dreams, in every fight you face. He held her hand. You gave me back my soul, Vale. Please, don't take it with you. She looked into his eyes. One last time, I'm giving it back to the stars, so that others like us will find each other too. And then she stepped into the core. Her body glowed, brighter and brighter. Her energy flowed through the ship. The bond between them surged. For one final time, Ray collapsed to his knees, clutching his chest. Her voice echoed in his mind. Remember me, not as a warrior, but as the one who chose you. The light exploded outward. The Sylph fleet was caught in the blast, one by one. Their ships vanished, burned, erased. The recon ship launched into hyperspace, just as the fire consumed. The field. Then silence. Ray woke up days later, back at a coalition base. They told him what he already knew. The Sylph fleet was gone. Vale was gone again, but this time, something stayed. The bond had not fully vanished. He still felt her, not as a voice, not as a thought, but like a heartbeat inside his own. He looked up at the stars. and whispered, "I remember." Months later, the war had changed. New peace treaties were forming. Draken technology was being shared. Ray helped lead the effort. He often stood on stages, called a hero. But when he spoke, his voice never wavered. This victory was not mine alone. It belonged to the one who gave everything for it, to someone who saw the worst in us, and still chose love. People clapped, but Ray didn't do it for them. He did it for her, for Vael, the warrior, the giant, the bondmate, the one who made him believe again. Final scene. Ray visited the quiet side of the moon where it all began. He placed a single crystal on the ground and carved into the stone. One human, one alien, one love that saved two worlds. As he walked away, the stars shimmered above him, and deep in the silence, he smiled, because he knew somewhere out there, she was smiling too.